And you should. Do you know why? Because most people can't even up the odds. You don't know that, they can't. I talked the other day about people emulating others and trying to be John Brzenk when they're not, trying to be Devon when they're not. Well, most people can't be you. You're better than you think you are, but you're also quite shallow in what you'll approach, what you'll do. Are you strong? Oh yeah. So evidence of that. What you're better at is attacking something in the correct way. So when you went into a hook with Tom Holland, one of the things you understand is Tom's not built to hook. Tom's actually not as strong as people believe, but he uses his levers very, very well. If Tom went into a straight up hook with Zolaev, he wouldn't beat him. Right. He doesn't have that kind. If he went in there with Prokopchuk, he wouldn't beat him. No, he's arm wrestling in a very different way. But he's found a way, very intelligent way, to make his hook effective, just the same way that Kevin Bongard did. And if you can read all those elements, you can see what they're doing. You can see how it works. But you can't emulate that. I couldn't emulate what Tom Holland does. I couldn't arm wrestle in the same way that Tom Holland does because he's structurally different to me. I couldn't do it. I can understand what he's doing and try to apply it in some ways, but I'll be able to achieve maybe 10% of it, 15% of it.
In a way, he's quite similar actually to you, like because his hand is quite short, right? Not so long, I would say.
You mean wrist to knuckle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Wrist to knuckle.
Which maybe is the reason why he can actually do that hook.
Yeah, he can make a very deep cup, and he also has a tremendous range of motion through the pronator and the supinator. He's got very, very good travel in his elbow.
So he does have some things created for a hook, basically.
Yes, he does. He has a number of things. Yeah. All the guys that do that who are a little bit of an outlier. So he's one. Bongard's one. Devon was one, certainly pre-surgery Devon. Devon now is quite closed in his arm wrestling. He's extremely advanced. And he's found, Devon's a lot like you in some ways, that he's found a couple of lanes that he uses extensively, and he knows that 90% of the field can't get to, they can't reach it, they can't get anywhere near it. I mean, there's been times when everybody believes that Devon's most recent forms have been his best. I don't believe so. I think his 2008 level was probably his best. I would love to see that guy that was in the hotel at the lakeside arm wrestle anybody at any time. I really would. I don't know where his ceiling was. I know a lot of people believe the myth and legend that's pumped out there about, oh yeah, this guy did this that day, this guy did this guy did. I couldn't give a shit what they believe. I was fucking there. I was the guy that had the conversation. For real. It's just how it is.
Yeah, it would be fun to see Devon now versus Devon 2008.
The people who were in the room that night who saw what Devon did, including John, and all the thing, when a number of people have said it. I watched some Ben Shapiro, and he always says, facts don't care about your feelings. Whether you love him or hate him, that is a very, very true statement. They don't. I think John Brzenk is the best arm wrestler of all time. And I don't actually think it's close. Really. I don't think it's close. I can break down why that is, but I don't believe it's close. The conversation isn't close. If you chart John's longevity, it's superior to anyone by a country mile. If you chart John's breadth of competition, it's different to anyone. If you chart the way he came through the weight classes, I was around when John Brzenk was pulling in 85 kilos and wasn't cutting weight. It's just, that's what he weighed.
Yeah, you were at some point 75 kilo, right?
Yeah, 75, 80, 85, won titles and all that. Yeah, before I became, Neil Six Tits. But everybody's had their peak, and different people, their peak lasts longer than others. What I'm telling you about John is, he is, we talked about design for arm wrestling. He has certain things that are God-given gifts, and he's got other things that have happened. They're situational. Like when he broke his arm as a very young man. I think that made a huge difference to him.
Yeah, sure.
I think when it healed, I think because he was a very young man, his body thought, oh shit, the demands on me are going to be this. They're going to be, my body needs to do this. So at that time, it laid down an enormous amount of the requirements that he needed to be proficient in the sport of arm wrestling. And that is not something, you know, a moment ago I talked about, don't worry about emulating something. You can't emulate that. Do you understand what I mean? It's circumstance. There's a massive debate going on in the world about King's move right now. And with every fibre of my being, I feel like jumping into that debate and putting a few truths out there. You know?
What would you say?
It'd be a very long, very boring conversation. And I'd speak with a great deal of passion and a great deal of confidence because I know what I'm fucking talking about. That's what it'd be. And a lot of people that are putting things in there don't actually know what they're talking about. And the interesting thing about it is that Devon, a lot of what he says is absolutely spot on. Janis, a lot of what he says is absolutely spot on. Both of them are correct in a lot of areas. And the only time that I really disagree with either man is when they start letting emotion take over. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. When they start making it, not facts, opinion, and it's about winning an argument, not about presenting the thing as it is in reality. And really, either one should have confidence. Like if you say to me, are you a fan of the King's move? No. No, I'm not a fan of the King's move. Do you feel like the King's move should be banned? Do you feel like the King's move should be altered, harnessed? No. No. It's a move. It is a style. If you're saying the only real argument against allowing total freedom of the King's move is based on the perception of people outside the sport, not in it. It's how it is as a viewing. If you look at UFC, so it's how it is for the spectator, for the mass audience. If Rebecca sits down on a Saturday night, if Laura sits down on a Saturday night, and you know what? What's this on the YouTube? Oh, arm wrestling. I'll tune in, I'll watch that. Okay? And suddenly, two guys hit the King's move in a match. And therefore, the form of that match is pretty static, not really going anywhere.
What is the King's move?
Sorry, love.
What is the King's move?
Okay, so the King's move is not... the King's move, people think the King's move is very basic. It is not. People think they can just walk into a gym and do the King's move. They cannot. The King's move is a style of and a form of arm wrestling. And it is very, very complicated. Possibly the most complicated. Without a great deal of understanding of orthodox arm wrestling in all its styles, you can't really understand the King's move. Very few people can do the King's move and can do it in a very efficient manner. Some people have evolved it into a style which, because it can't be really copied and it can't be attacked by 90% of the arm wrestling population because they don't understand it, they feel like it's the end all and they're too lazy to learn that it can be countered. Now you do have Devon, who, let's be clear, I have more respect for 90% of people in the game because, number one, he's my friend. That doesn't mean I always agree with him. Disagree with him on some elements of this. Disagree with him on, I mean, if anybody watched when we were having a bit of a laugh as well, but the whole Eddie Hall, Brian Shaw thing, myself and Dev got into it big time, and we actually enjoyed it. We had a laugh. I don't believe in life you need to, the people I love the most I fall out with a lot. My missus, I'll fall out with a lot. You know, I think life's fucking boring if everybody just agrees with everything. You know, me and I'll tell you now, I fucking love that dude. Mindigus is genuinely one of my favourite arm wrestlers of all time, and I'm not joking. And why is because he genuinely is an absolute master arm wrestler. We take the piss with the just a regular go, but he's one of the best top rollers that has ever drawn breath. I'm telling you, he is. And I can see him. And I know most people can't. Most people haven't a clue what he's doing when he's up there. I do. I think it's magnificent.
I see you.
Yeah.
I respect.
Yeah. I want to help him.
Yeah.
I want to help him get better. We spent ages, quite famously, for any of the YouTube channel members, we argued about the Prokopchuk thing. But whilst he wouldn't concede a friggin' inch when we were in that room, the next event we went to, he applied 20% of what we went through, and he beat Daniel for the first time in a super match. That just happened. He said he had the balls to come up to me in breakfast and say, hey, I think we're at lunch actually in the hotel over there, and he said, you know, when we talked about that and the forward press stuff and the moving forward when I've gained my position, I've worked on it, and I've come up with kind of a resting spot, which was, you know how I said the other day, I'll say things to you when they're conceptual and you can go away and work on that and come up with something that works for you. Well, he did. He went away and he took the concept of moving forward so that you were taking it outside of power and putting Daniel into an awkward position. He found a resting spot, halfway house there, from which he could get into that spot, apply pressure, make it so that Daniel was uncomfortable, and then pop out and unleash on him, and he won the match. And that is what happened. And my respect for Mindaugas at that point went way higher. I thought, oh, even better. You are listening, and you are aware of things, and you are ready to take it on. And what he needs to realise is all the steps that got him to where he is now as a top roller, he can do that more and more if he understands the other moves better than he currently does. But the only way that you can become the guy who rides the Grand Prix motorcycle into the bend at 140 miles an hour and slides the front and the back is if you do a little bit of it. You don't get on the bike, trust me, you'll never do it. A lot of the guys that do that came up through dirt bike riding. So what they actually did, they did it on dirt, and they understand the form on dirt, and they understand that on a little surface with a little bit more traction, and soon they realise that the speed frees up the bike. And if they have the confidence to do that, the bike will behave a certain way. And the throttle control, there is so much going on there, it's unbelievable. But most people watch motorcycle racing and they just see a bike go around a circuit. They don't know what's going on. I speak to my wife, she'll say, oh, they're just going round and round a circuit, just going round and round a circuit. Now I take my boys to watch it and they can see Pecco Bagnaia, they can see Jorge Martin sliding the bike. Now then I go home and I show my wife a slow motion. And she sees the back wheel go and the front wheel and the back wheel and the front wheel and the back wheel and the front wheel. When the dude's doing 140, 160 miles an hour into a bike. You imagine that. You're at 160 miles an hour on a bike and you go into a crank and the fucking front and the back are individually sliding. It's incredible. And there's 20 of them there and they're all doing it. Nobody gives a shit. Because 90% of people watch that, they don't even know they're doing it. So then when they see a slow-mo, they think, oh Christ, look at that. This is the same. What Rebecca and Laura do. I present the Giants live gigs, and 99% of the people in the crowd love the show. They love the lights and all that stuff, and they see the guys, the competition. They don't know how heavy those weights are. They don't appreciate that. Like, how many reps did you hit with 220 kilos at Britain's? Was it like 11 or 12?
11.
Yeah, 11 reps with 220 kilos. A woman. Holy shit. I mean, holy shit. Go home and do that. Any dude watching, I don't care who you are, giant, midget, whatever you are, something in between, anything. If you're the missing link, go and try 11 reps with 220 kilos on a deadlift. Oh, that is ridiculous fucking heavy.
On an axle bar as well, that's even worse.
On an axle? On a goddamn axle. Thanks for reminding me as well. Go and try and lift 150, get a lightweight, go 150 kilos on an axle bar. Just try. If any of you got an axle bar, do 150 kilos on an axle bar. You won't believe it. It's very, very different. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Behind every sport, when you get to the high level, there is nuance. I mean, when we're talking about the King's move, Anybody's wrist not knackered and want to demonstrate a King's Move position, sort of, just a rough. You want to do it?
Someone else.
Okay, I don't care.
I'll try,
Anyway, yeah. So basically, what they took with the criticism of the King's Move, just come up here, mate. So the criticism of the King's Move is that the King's Move gets to the end of your range of motion, right? So basically, you are in a situation where you get, this is what we call an open top roll, and as it tightens up, that'll be quite an open top roll. This is an open top roll. Okay, but in a King's Move, you could get right here to the end of your motion, right to the end, or just above it, like a centimetre off, 2 centimetres off, a couple of inches off. In actuality, there's a great deal going on. It is mostly pronation. It's a tremendous amount of rising. It's constant circling. So you're looking to increase rise, you're looking to increase pronation. I've broken it down via video. I've watched it and I understand the principles. I've spoken to experts on it like Michael and Devon. Can I do it? And I consider myself very much an arm wrestling expert. Can I do it? No. No, I cannot. I can do a basic outline of it, which I've fucked around with because I want to understand all arm wrestling. But I've spoken to Devon, I've spoken to Mike, I've spoken to the originators of the move. People think it started with Zakowicz. There was actually like 2 or 3 guys doing it at that time. Pascal, I've talked to a bit about it. Gregory Schneider. And one of the things I'll tell you is, it is not consistent. The King's Move is not one thing, and it's not done in one fashion. It is a system of arm wrestling. It's far more complex than you think. When Devon's saying there's a lot more going on, he's telling you the truth. There is a lot more going on. And that's why most people can't do it. And they need to understand it, and they need to learn what's going on. Do not try and emulate it until you are a master of orthodox arm wrestling. If you can orthodox arm wrestle till the cows come home, great. When people talk, when Ray and Janis talk about it being bone blocked, when they talk about having damage in your arm assisting you, absolutely it does. For Devon to say that it doesn't, for Michael to say that it doesn't, for anybody to say that it doesn't, is nonsense. It does. End of. And if they wanted to discuss that with myself, I'll prove it categorically, and I'll break it down, and we'll sit and watch video, and I'll show them exactly why. It is not the be-all and end-all, but does it assist? Yes, definitely. But Michael Todd, Devon Larratt, George Zakowicz are master King's movers. They're exceptional at it, and they've worked very, very hard. And if you look at them and you care to actually pay attention to what they're doing, you know how I've said throughout this weekend with the girls at the Titan House and the lads at the Titan House, and some of you guys, like, you know, I have massive respect. Great to have Lloyd and Neil here because they're getting into the game, and the young men, and this is, all this stuff's amazing for you. Laura's bitten onto it big time. Katie has. All the guys that are trying to get into arm wrestling. I've talked about the fact that the thing will evolve. As you train, your style will tighten, your style will improve. What you do now will not be what you're doing in 6 months. It'll resemble it, but it'll be a loose resemblance. When you started your strongman career, a lot of your lifts will now be way better than they were, won't they?
Much better.
Just because you refine it. The other day, we get here, the Roberts girl comes over to me. As I mentioned, Rebecca Roberts is in the house, world's strongest woman. That's how we roll. She's sitting right there. Now, she came up to me and she said, Loz wants to take me to the gym. Go into the gym. Why? Because we've got an event coming that I've never done before, and I want to practice, and I want to drill it and learn the style so I can evolve the motion. And she's worried about that because she's never done it before. Now, that tells you at world level all you need to know. When you get into something, in any lift, however basic you may feel it is, there is nuance, technique. Someone like the Moose, Mitchell Hooper, is exceptional because of the fact that the man is brilliant at understanding, furthering and evolving technique. All of them. Why arm wrestling is so difficult to teach is because within each one of those lanes, with each one of those arm wrestlers, there is an enormous amount of individual nuance. Mendegus has very, very difficult to see nuance. He's got extremely refined, subtle nuance in his technique. If you look at the whole Swedish team, We've got 3 of the best in the world here. We got Thea, we got Caro, we got Marlin. They're all world champions. And they'll go on with the girls, and you tell me how it is. Did you notice a difference in the style of each one of these girls and how they taught you?
Yeah.
Very clear, very distinct, very evident. You wouldn't think so, would you? They're all top rollers. They're all from Sweden. All of the styles came from Andreas Rundström and Roy Eklund. That's where they came from. If you look at the entire Swedish team, it is based on Andreas Rundström. Fact. He was Andreas Rundström, invented Swedish arm wrestling. He simply did. And if anyone wants to challenge that, look at any, and I mean any, male or female Swede that top rolls, and you will see Andreas Rundström. And why? Because he was fucking magnificent. And they're not idiots. And they see that one guy from their country goes out into the world and beats the piss out of anybody. And a lot of the time at any weight. So why wouldn't you try to emulate what he's doing? I know I did. I was great friends with Andreas, and I'm like, Andreas, what are you doing? Show me what you're doing. Learn from him. One of the guys that I respect most in the world, Svetan Gashevsky, absolute friggin' master arm wrestler. And I watched Andreas flash pin him, and I watched him flash pin Andreas. In the same way that we watched Mindigus and Tom on the right arm, which was as good an arm wrestling match as you're ever going to see. When it goes backwards and forwards and guys are very, very close, you can see the whole battle start to evolve, and each guy realising that, yeah, I got a lane, but I've got to get to that lane. And it was great watching Andreas at different events and watching Svetan at different events, because if they got what they wanted, bang, done, headshot, dead, it's over. That's when you're dealing with a master. That's when you're dealing with somebody who will kick the piss out of you if you make a slight mistake. And at world class in any sport, that is what you see. So if you look at Michael Todd when he first started Kings Moving, and I was right through that because I watched what the guy went through to have to get there. Here's a question for Michael, which I'm sure he'll answer. Why did he start Kings Moving? Why? There it is, why? You know what his answer was? Because I lost a lot of range of motion. Couldn't get tight in and press like I used to. Couldn't get tight in and hook like I used to. So in other words, damage in the arm has created a situation where he has gone in pursuit of another way to win. And that is as irrepressible a man as you'll ever meet in this sport. And yet the reason that he took that lane was because others closed. One door closes, another one opens if you care to go and look for it. Then you see Devon Lara, who's grown up around Zakowicz, and he's the same situation that we got with the Swedes. Well, we got this one old dude that's amazing. How is he amazing? And someone who's constantly questioning and loves arm wrestling like Devon does, he wants to understand how. He wants to understand why. Now, Devon will talk about, the King's move is easy to beat if you understand it, and he even showed it happening in a hook the other day. Now, for someone like me, I just piss myself laughing, because that is some serious bullshit right there. Because Devon is made to beat the King's move. If I was designing someone to beat the King's move, I'd pretty much design Devon. In fact, if I was designing someone to beat 99% of things, I'd pretty much design Devon. Somebody who's unbelievably strong, unbelievably versatile, and a fucking giant. Everything's easy when your leverage is incredible. If I shrunk the man's arm down by 6 inches, he'd suddenly find out that beating the King's move isn't quite as easy as he thinks it is. And that's another fact. So there's the sort of seeing it the other way. And on reflection, I guarantee you, if Devon wasn't thinking about winning an argument, he'd go, yeah, he's absolutely true. But he's going to feel under attack because he went onto a podcast, on Ray's podcast, and suddenly there's 3 or 4 members of them all joined in there, and they're all trying to make him look a dick. And he's not a dick. He's telling you the truth. And he's more technical than most people you'll meet, and he's a better arm wrestler. If you think Devon can't hook perfectly, you're mad. If you think he can't press, you're mad. If you think he can't top roll, you're fucking mad. And he can also King's move, and I can't. Do everything else, can't do that. So he's got one up on me straight away. No limits, right? You with me? You've got more ability to do things, you can do things. So the whole dark arts came around because I don't have the leverage, don't have the top end, never going to take steroids, so I have to find a different way of beating the guys that are stronger than me. I don't care whether they take steroids, don't care. I couldn't care less. What I care about is, can I beat them? Nothing more. You've got to find a way to beat someone a certain way. And Mindigus has found a way, very subtly, to smash people to pieces. And a lot of the best guys in the world, Jerry Caderet, if you don't understand what Jerry's going to do, it is a very, very difficult thing to beat. Another guy that's an absolute freak and is getting better and better, we saw this weekend. Bogdan Stoiker is evolving. He's evolving. Am I lying? Do you see the improvements in that guy every time we come?
No, after this time I can see him at the very top very soon.
Yeah, he's evolving, isn't he? He's getting better.
I'm predicting him to maybe even be number 1.
Yeah, he's understanding the movement, and he's understanding what he's doing, and he's understanding that you can make small, subtle movements to simply disable your opponent, and then you apply the pressure, and that's the exact same style, concept of arm wrestling that I use. Exactly the same. Totally different techniques, totally different application, but the same concept, if that makes sense. And he's doing a little bit of that. And a lot of other guys are doing a little bit of that. Svetan Gashevsky did a great deal of that before he got hurt. Now he's gone to the King's move. That tells me a lot, because if Svetan's pursuing it and mastering it and fascinated by it and knows its efficiency, then you should understand that that is one of the best, most critically thinking arm wrestlers in the world. Why does he care about the King's move so much? Because it's friggin' mega. Is it good to watch? No, it's shit. Is it good for the viewing audience? No, it sucks. But it is bloody efficient. It is bloody effective. And I think in any combat sport, if you disable another man's way to win, I don't agree with it. So for me, get good enough to beat it. I agree with Devon. Get good enough to beat it or lose. It's like, I disagree. You know, people not showing Rebecca or any other gifted, very significantly sized athlete technique, I think is not good. I want to see the best. See everybody get to where they are. Anyway, I want to shut up about King's move. Boring. I should stop talking anyway and go and get something to eat and do something a bit more interesting with my life and yours. See you later.